What's the current state of global dairy production and consumption? And with all of the conversation that's happening about planetary health and methane, would you say that this industry is getting more environmentally friendly? And if so, how? How are they going about doing that?
This is a really good question. This gets into the very interesting aspects centered around dairy. Big picture, there's 270 million dairy cows throughout the world producing milk. And it is a spectrum in terms of how much milk they're producing and their environmental footprint. But the trends show this. In richer countries, the US, Canada, certainly in the UK, Australia, you have a tendency to put more dairy cows in confinement. You control their food. You selectively feed them what will enhance milk production. This typically decreases animal welfare. So that's why you see all kinds of issues with dairy in terms of the ethical side. But in terms of environmental footprint, confining them reduces land use. It gets them to an age and milk production that is more commercially viable. So that's what you have happening in these rich countries. And they're saying that from this, it's more environmentally friendly. And in some ways, that's true. But if you're just increasing efficiency and then doing more of it and producing more, then that's not a net benefit environmentally, especially when it's not something that's necessary. There's far better alternatives. But to look at kind of what's happening with dairy too is people are shifting away from it. Demand in these rich countries has gone far down, continues to go down year over year. And despite production still going up, these large companies are finding other ways to use milk, putting milk in things that didn't have milk before, finding alternative kind of luxury cheeses to cater to a new market. This is what's happening with dairy to kind of stay relevant. And don't get me wrong, there's still very large consumption of dairy, of course. But there's all kinds of trends that shows that we've peaked in terms of rich countries, in terms of how much dairy we want, and we're seeing alternatives. There's all kinds of consolidation too on the production on the production side too. You have a lot of small dairy farms, even medium sized, that just aren't able to make it a business anymore. And then you have consolidation where there's really only like major large dairy conglomerates left. And with that comes with huge additional lobbying power in certain countries. So in Canada, where I am, there is one of the most sketchy kind of management schemes with dairy across the world. And I think the US is trying to do something similar. What happens there is people that produce milk, these companies, have a certain quota to hit. And there's like an insurance, right? On this is how much you produce, no matter what the demand is. So it's not really running a demand and supply type business at that point. But what you're seeing is the demand is going far down. So you're having milk that's dumped. You're having milk that's not used. There's all kinds of waste. They're finding new ways just to give milk away. And this is just not, it's not something that we should be seeing. And it's also not a good sign for the dairy industry either. So I suspect that this is worrisome on that side too. This is something that you can't, it's not sustainable in that sense of the word. There's all kinds of different regional trends that are happening. There is a big increase in plant-based milks that are eating into some of this market share. I would say that of all the kind of plant-based alternatives, plant-based milks are the ones that are displacing the animal source version the most. People that are not even eating anything close to plant-based are swapping out to plant-based milks. And they're doing that for all kinds of different reasons.
Yeah, that's terrible about the dumping and the just food waste in general. We need to be so much better at reducing the amount of calories that are produced that are wasted, particularly if they're calories from animal foods that have come at such an environmental cost, such an environmental expense just to produce them, and then to have those not be consumed is just an enormous waste. So I hope that people are looking at that.